Oliver. Have a seat. Honorable Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley, members of Cabinet and invited Cabinet members from visiting countries, members of Parliament, specially invited guests, and members of the media. I am Ashley Dial, and I'm welcoming you to this Carifesta 15's Fireside Chat with Ava DuVernay. Ava DuVernay is an Academy Award nominee and winner of Emmy, BAFTA, Sundance, Image, and Peabody Awards. Her films include Selma, the first film directed by an African-American woman to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. 13th, which made her the first African-American woman to be nominated by an Oscar in a feature film directed category. Middle of Nowhere, which earned her Sundance's Best Director prize, and Disney's A Wrinkle in Time, which made her the highest-grossing Black woman director in American box office history. DuVernay's fourth-part series, When They See Us, was honored with 16 Emmy nominations. Her critically acclaimed series, Queen Sugar, took its place in history as the longest-running Black family drama series with 88 episodes across 7 seasons. With her latest feature film, Origin, she made history again as the first African-American woman director to compete at the Venice Biennale in its 100th-year history. A champion of independent voices, DuVernay founded the Narrative Challenge Collective Array in 2011, recipient of the Peabody Institutional Award. She was given an honorary Doctor of Fine Arts degree from Morehouse College and Yale University. Her portrait was commissioned by the National Portrait Gallery in recognition of her impact on American culture, and she received the Smithsonian Great Americans Medal in 2025. DuVernay serves as the Board of Governors of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, representing the Directors Branch, and holds leadership roles with Directors Guild of America and the American Film Institute advisory boards. Her cultural influence is showcased with the making of a sold-out Ava DuVernay Barbie doll, a funk pop figurine, and a custom Ben & Jerry's ice cream flavor. She lives and works in her hometown of Los Angeles, California. I welcome you to Carifesta 15's Ava DuVernay's Fireside Chat. Welcome Ava DuVernay and Carol Roberts Reefer, Festival Director of Carifesta 15, to the stage.
Hello. Hello. Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Prime Minister, members of Cabinet, visiting ministers from other CARICOM states, members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is for me an absolute honor personally to sit beside one of my idols and just pick her brain, have a chat. It is equally an honor to share it with you. And thirdly, it is an honor to do so in the middle of Carifesta 15, Caribbean Roots Global Excellence. It's a pleasure to sit in a room where we all look like each other, or we all have common goals, challenges, and dreams, and share them with an icon of storytelling. Our story is a complex one. From origins to colonization to independence to other forms of parliamentary discourse and operations, to struggles and freedoms and triumphs. And there is no better way than to tell these stories and to share these tenets of our personality than through the arts and culture. And in the Caribbean, there is no greater moment to do it and discuss it than during Carifesta. And for this year, 2025, Carifesta 15 is in Barbados. This conversation would not be possible without the vision and the support of our Honorable Prime Minister, who never stops thinking, never stops dreaming, never stops having a big idea, and is always keen to have big conversations. And that is what this evening's session is about. So again, I thank you very much. May I call you Ava?
Thank you for having me.
Thank
so
you
much.
very much for consenting to come. You've been here for 2 days now, having a great time, I'm told.
Fantastic.
And you had a birthday yesterday, if I may share.
I did. I did.
And now we are just going to relax and have a chat.
Small chat with friends.
Small chat with friends,
That's right.
and that's how we do it in the Caribbean, and that's how I think peoples of color do it wherever they are.
Sure.
So, a career as a publicist, a successful publicist, you're doing well, and then you decide to take the risk of branching out into film, and I deliberately say risk by branching out into film. Why? What was there inside of you that had to come out in that way?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Most welcome.
And thank you, Prime Minister, for your hospitality and the invitation. The Prime Minister actually very graciously said, you know, come give it a try. It's okay. You're welcome. It'll be fine. I think because it was my birthday, you know, I just wanted to relax. So I wasn't sure what I would find, and I've just found such beauty, such joy, such gorgeous spirit in the place and the people. So thrilled to be here. Thank you. I didn't pick up a camera until I was 32 years old.
Wow.
In the United States, that's very, very old to start making films. Most kids are starting to make them in high school, or they're going to university for film school. I didn't go to university for film school. I got a degree in English and African American Studies. I was just a person who liked movies. I just always loved movies. So luckily, when I graduated from college and started to work to pay the bills, I got into the film industry working in public relations. And so I did publicity for movies. When you see a red carpet premiere, do you ever wonder who rolled out that carpet on their hands and knees? That was me. You know, who's lining up the press when you see an actor on a talk show? Who coordinated all of that? That's what the PR was. But in that process, I got the opportunity to be on sets, on movie sets. And by publicizing the sets, I got to see the films actually being made by hand. Predominantly white male crew members, but publicity was an area where there are a lot of women working, not a lot of black women, but you know, it was a way for me to get on the sets and kind of see what was going on. And one day I was on the set of a movie called Collateral. This is a movie directed by Michael Mann, starring Tom Cruise, Jada Pinkett, and Jamie Foxx. Yep. That's a lot of black people for a movie by a white guy. And they were shooting in my area where I grew up. I grew up in the Compton area near South Central LA. They were shooting in my area. And so I thought, wow, they are shooting in my area. They are shooting with black people. Like, I want to do what he's doing. And I just picked up a camera and started to tinker on the weekends. So the why really was just a desire that I believe whenever you have a desire or a want, that it is if it is positive, that it is God-given. That's in some way, I was blessed to want to tell stories. In the same way that my little sister Tara is blessed because she can do hair like nobody's business. We all have our talents, right? We all have the things that call us. And so it was calling to me, even though I had another job, another career, another life, and even though I was older than most. So I just leaned into it.
How aware were you at that time of the issues of the day, whether in Compton, whether in the greater United States, whether in the world, whether affecting people of color?
Oh, very, very aware. Always. I think raised in a community that was the epicenter of the Black Panther Party in the United States, both in Alabama and Los Angeles, California. So very aware of and studied it in college, of the political, socio-economic, and cultural impact of being black in the United States. But at the time, I didn't think that that's what I would make movies and television about. I was just interested in telling stories and seeing where it can go. I really thought it was going to be a hobby because I didn't see any black women who had a sustained career in film. There's certainly black women making film, but maybe every 6 years, every 7 years, they'd make a film. I didn't see anyone who was doing it as consistently as we do now. Now you see so many of us who are fortunate enough to make a living and pay our mortgage with movies and television. And so, so I thought it'd be something I'd do on the weekends.
Yeah.
Just make films on the weekends, show them to my friends. But I started to have more and more friends. And so now more and more people watch.
Stories like this often also have someone that's central to giving you a leg up. Someone who's going to hold your hand and mentor you and just guide you along the way. Did you have that experience as well?
I really believe it takes a village. I mean, it was a village of people, different people who were able to pass the baton to me in different areas at different times, because there was no one person I can look at and say, please show me how to do that. But there were many women who knew how to do different parts of it. And at the time that I started, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I had no idea that it was going to be possible to have a sustained career as a film and television director. I didn't have a dream of having my own studio, which I do. I didn't have, the ideas came to me as I grew into them. And so I think it's different than some people who can look and say, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I just leaned into each step as they came and embraced the steps wholeheartedly once I got to each phase.
Let's talk about Selma. Let's fast forward to Selma.
Okay.
2014 and your personal story in being offered it, taking it on. That's part one of the question. And then part two, was there a point where you thought, oh boy, this is bigger than I am?
Right. Well, I'll answer part two first. No.
Yeah.
I never thought it was bigger than I am, because I felt very connected to the story. Selma, for those of you who don't know, is a story about Dr. King and his specific march from Selma to Montgomery, which was a pivotal moment in the American Civil Rights Movement. And I was an African American Studies major at UCLA. My father is from Montgomery, Alabama. Mm-hmm. He grew up, steeped in that story and that culture. I would go to Alabama every summer. I was very familiar. I said, what other director's gonna know? Nobody can do this but me. This is my story, mine to tell. Now, I never thought I'd be making a film about Dr. King. I thought I'd be making, sexy dramas and like mysteries. And so I really didn't think my first bigger movie was going to be about Dr. Martin Luther the King Jr. Didn't think that. But it came in my lap, and once it did, I felt very much that it was mine and that I was ready to do it. I'd made 4 films by that time. And so although it was a much bigger budget than I'd ever done, I felt prepared. And the way it came to me, did you ask how it came to me? Mm-hmm. There were 7 directors on Selma before me. So they invited someone to make it who was excited about it, and then they saw the money and said, never mind. And they did that 6 times. And the last time they did it, that director, Lee Daniels, had cast David Oyelowo, who eventually played Dr. King. Yes. I had just directed David in a film before that won Sundance, Middle of Nowhere. And David, when the director left, usually when a director leaves, everyone associated with that director leaves. But David is a fighter, Nigerian, you know them. They're fighters. And he said, just because the director leaves doesn't mean I want this part. I'm gonna find another director who wants me. And so he convinced him to hire his friend, me. And I was like, yeah, I want him. I want him to be the big king. And so in that way, he was able to keep the role, and I was able to move into a phase of my career that was really, the launching point for me in the mainstream.
And that's what I meant when I was asking, when was there a point at which you thought it was bigger than you? What I meant was the story, the purpose, the timeliness of the film coming out with regard to what was happening in the USA and the wider world, where you feel that you're just a vessel and the message is going to get out there is bigger.
Yeah, I completely hear you. I don't embrace the idea of it being bigger than me, because I am not a part. I don't feel that I am in any of these films at all. So they are, so yes, technically bigger than me, but really I am a servant to the story. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to make it and tell it as best I can. And so, I try to keep aware of the fact that I need to reach as many people in as most emotional way as I can, and use all the tools of the trade and anyone I can get my hands on to help me do that. And then, you give it away. It's not me, it's not mine. I can't control what happens to it in the world. So a vessel for sure, yes. And try to take the me out of it.
Almost all of your films have dominant themes that are relative to all of us. Is that deliberate?
Yeah, yes, I think, yes. I mean, I think justice and dignity is sexy. I really do. I mean, I think it's provocative. I think it's adventurous. I think it's exciting. I think it is a propulsive, passionate feeling to strive for justice, to feel yes. something is unfair, to feel like something is being overlooked. I think in the entertainment industry in the United States, there's a real feeling of it's the romantic comedy, it's the Marvel movie, it's the yep. action, those are the things that people want. But I've experienced something very different. When I travel around the world, people want to come up to me and talk to me about their neighborhood, their mother, their history, their family, their community, justice and dignity and solidarity, and those things are a psychographic, not a demographic. A psychographic that connects people around the world beyond your age, your race, your gender. It is a huge, huge swath of the global community that cares and gives a damn about other people, no matter what anyone tells you, no matter what the people in my country are trying to tell us. Mm-hmm. It is more than okay to care. It is, I believe, a human core, a mechanism of us as human beings to care about someone else. Yeah. And so, these films, I believe, can prove to be a fuel, a fire, food for, I think, a society that tries to get us to care less. Yeah. Hopefully the films and the television shows we make invite people to care more.
Your films also take what are often uncomfortable historical circumstances, painful historical circumstances, and transform them into what I call like global art. So you feel comfortable watching it. I'm not sure if you understand what I mean. So for Selma, for example, if you followed the story, if you know the history, you knew that there were moments that would make you cry, it would be painful, it would make you angry. In your films, you come away with what I call a resolution. You are more comfortable with, more accepting of, because I think they're treated artfully. Let's talk about that. Okay.
I think they're triumphant films. I feel the films I make are triumphant because in order to triumph, you have to overcome obstacles. So I have to show you the obstacle, which may be painful, may be uncomfortable, as you said. I agree with you. But in the end, the hope is that you feel a sense of triumph. You feel when you watch The Exonerated Five and when they see us, how the hell, they made it. They made it. They made it through. When you see, Dr. King and John Lewis, the Congressman Lewis and Ambassador Young and all of the great men and women Diane Nash, who were able to succeed in passing that civil rights legislation by putting their very bodies and using their minds and their spirits and putting that all on the line. And at the end, it's triumphant. And so I feel a little, it's my pain point when people talk about how hard my films are. It's something I have to get over, I know. Because I was like, you know what's hard? John Wick. Because he's just killing people for no reason. And I'm like, why am I watching 2 hours of this stuff? Or, just indiscriminate violence. I'm showing you very select violence that actually illustrates a larger story that will nourish you and make you feel triumphant and proud of what has happened here. And so I think, the application or the analysis of violence, the analysis of what's pain, what's real pain, it's more than semantics to me. And so but I hear what you're saying. I hear a lot of people saying, I don't want to watch it. I can't finish when they see us. It's too sad. Yeah. And I was like, Okay, well, if that's sad, let's talk about real life. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand that we want to have fun, we want to enjoy like comedies and romances, and I love all of that as well. But I think it's incumbent upon us to educate ourselves and to empower ourselves, and the enemy wants us not to do those things.
Yeah.
And so sit down with your children, sit down with your friends, and feed yourself with things that are going to make you feel stronger and fortified and all of the things that we face during the day.
And then there's this school of thought as well, that your lens, because you are a person of color, because you are a black person, is different from that of a white producer and director of someone from another ethnicity. Do you believe in that as well?
Oh yes, of course. Yes, it's fabulous. I mean, it's. I come with the full weight of my history, my people, my family, my street. I heard you guys call street gaps here. I think that's fascinating.
Yes.
My gap,
yes.
my, you know what I mean? I bring it all with me in the same way that my white male counterparts or my Latino counterparts or my, North African counterparts or Asian counterparts are bringing themselves to it. I really am allergic to the idea that we all need to dumb down and kind of fit in this space that's this vanilla space where we all, where it's just all kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't we love the variety? Don't we love the spice of life is the difference? I've been learning here. I would say I am very ignorant to the nuance of this part of the world as it moves from country to country. Mm-hmm. And so last night I was with some Jamaicans, some Nigerians. They're not here, but they felt that Nigerians and Jamaicans were kinsmen, like connected, because they're loud and they like to talk about their country a lot. And then you had some Bayesians, you had some African Americans, and we were talking about Dominica, and we were talking about Trinidad, and the nuances between the different places. And I have to admit, in the United States, it's kind of like the Caribbean. It's all the same. They're all there. And there was even a comment made that the Caribbean is lumped in with Latin America and kind of like, it's all the same. How can that be? And so this idea of nuance and carving it out and seeing the beauty in each of the little places, I think is a part of the answer to your question. I don't feel like, oh, I'm just a filmmaker. No, I'm a black woman filmmaker. I'm an African American woman filmmaker. Very specific, very different than, a woman filmmaker who's from Barbados. Mm-hmm. We would have some similarities, but we would have a world of difference to share. And isn't that beautiful to celebrate?
It is. It is.
Yeah. If there are any Bayesian women filmmakers who want to have a chat after, I'd love to talk to you, by the way.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And at this point, I'd like to acknowledge actually the president of our local Film and Television Association, Jamal Slocum, who is here in the front row.
Hello. Good to meet you.
And that leads me then into my next question, which is for a bit of advice. How would you advise young, both local and Caribbean filmmakers to approach the telling of our stories, including the ones that are particularly uncomfortable or painful from our past?
Well, I think what you're doing here is exceptional, and I just want to thank you for this, the solidarity that's being engendered by having a convening that brings people from, I think there are people here from all over the diaspora, and sharing their art and their creativity and their imagination, ideas, information. It's extraordinary. That's step one, is knowing that you don't do it alone, that you have to be in community with other artists. And so that would be the first step, is to find your people, find someone that's doing not necessarily exactly what you want to do, but is in that creative spirit, who has that energy, who wants to make, who wants to build, who wants to listen and share. And I think that's just essential to the process. But then how do you get to making a certain kind of work? I would say you have to make what lights you on fire. Someone said to me the other day, I'm trying to exercise. I've never been a person who exercises, and so I'm trying to just like, I'm getting older. I need to start to exercise. And a friend said to me, the best exercise is the exercise you will do. Okay, so just find something that you will actually do. And I think that's the same with storytelling. The best story is the story that you want to tell. That you want to tell, that you will do, even if you weren't being paid. You know what I mean? That's the best story. And so for me, luckily, I've been able to cultivate those kinds of films through independence, through my entrepreneurial efforts, so that I'm less someone's handing me a script and I'm just doing it, and more from I am on fire to do this. Even with Selma, it fell into my lap, but because of my family history with Alabama, because of my education and studying the period, I felt very much like I said, this is mine to do. And you have to feel that every time you take on a story. There's been some films and television shows and commercials that I've had to make for the check, but damn it, I'm gonna find my passion in this fried chicken commercial, okay? I don't eat chicken, but what could it be? I love fried shrimp. Okay, let's focus on the fried. Like whatever you have to focus on, find the passion, find the thing, because you can tell, I think, you can tell when you watch something and someone loved it into existence. And you can watch something that feels empty. It feels like junk food and empty calories. Or does it feel like soul food? Last night I had some incredible soul food that a woman made with her own hands. And there was no machines, it was just her, and I could taste it. I could taste the love in every bite. And so that's what I think we should think about with storytelling. It's less about studios, it's less about all the trappings that we think come with it. It's more authenticity in the story and your passion for the story. And if your passion is stories about social justice, great. If your passion is, I have a friend, Issa Rae, I don't know if any of you know her work. She just wants to make people laugh. And it's incredible work, and that's her passion. And so we all have to do what we're called to do. Yeah. Thank
you. And then you made a deliberate offer invitation to meet with female filmmakers after our chat. Why is that particularly important? Looking at the world through the eyes of the female filmmaker and director.
Such a small tribe. And so, of course, I'll meet with the brothers too, if I'm not going to discriminate. But yeah, just such a small tribe, but a mighty tribe. I know women filmmakers from around the world, so many different countries. And it's a very particular set of obstacles. And so I always like to make sure that they, know what the possibilities are, know that they're a part of a small but mighty tribe. And but yeah, I just love filmmakers. I love storytellers. I love artists. I love people who are thinking independently about business. I just love folks who want to contribute to our overall well-being in any way.
And from films, then you've branched out into other projects. So I want to talk about the power of creating that platform which you've created with film, which has then allowed you to do a number of other projects, all contributing to the global good.
Yes. Well, we have a company called Array, and it's our studio. We have a small campus. So in the United States, some people work on the studio lot. And it's usually seen as a big deal if you have an office on a studio lot. It used to be a really big sign of prestige. Or you just don't have an office on the studio lot and you just kind of go from studio to studio. There was a filmmaker who's a mentor of mine, Haile Gerima, Ethiopian filmmaker who made a film called Sankofa. Have any of you all seen Sankofa? And he said, my sister, you need to have your own liberated territory. You need to have a place that they can't kick you out of, that is always yours. And so with money from a film that I made, I bought a few buildings and created my own studio and my own campus in Los Angeles. So that is one of a big, thank you. And that's where we do most of our work, but within that, we made a movie theater, and it's completely free. So we play all kinds of films, and we introduce those films to the Los Angeles community free. So we teach kids how to read subtitles. We'll play anything from Korean films to Palestinian films, Egyptian films, Ghanaian films, the latest film that just came out at the theater that we need to see, all free to the community. And so that's another project that's a big one for us. We have Array Crew, which is our initiative to make sure that when you walk onto a set, it's not all white men. Wow. So this is a database that has everyone listed who's not a white man. So it's women, it's people of color, but it's also all of the categories that are kind of marginalized categories in the American film industry: veterans, older people, people with disabilities, who can do the job as well as anyone else, but are often overlooked or not known by the Hollywood industrial complex. So, so that's a database. So there are a number of initiatives that we're always trying to think about that makes the industry more healthy than how we found it. Mm-hmm. And our next hope is to, I've been traveling a lot over the last 2 years, because the next step is really global connection. People doing something in Barbados, and then these folks are doing something in Nigeria, and these people are doing something in Dubai, and these folks are doing something in Brazil, and we're doing something in the United States, and we're just disconnected. We're independent, we're vibrant, but we are not seeing each other's work, and we're not connected in a way that we're contributing and supporting each other's work. And so that global connection of filmmakers, once it's solidified, will create dynamic art for the people that sits outside of corporate interests. Mm-hmm. That's really what we've been incubating lately.
Then there's the question of the stories that we have in common. So I'm really liking that you went all around the world and identified the possibility of filmmakers to work together. Because oftentimes, without knowing it, without knowing each other, we automatically assume that we have differences because we look different, we come from different places, we've been born at different times. But it's only when we communicate, and in your instance, communicating through film and the production of film, that we realize that we actually have more in common than we do have differences. Mm-hmm. I think that's important.
I agree with you, very important.
And then I want to move on to your Caribbean roots. We were talking a little bit about that backstage, and you were saying that your roots run a little deep in Haiti as well. How aware were you before you got into film, or even growing up, of your Caribbean roots?
None.
Wow.
None. Well, we don't have those records. We don't have that history unless you have a living a living elder.
Relative, yeah.
And my great grandmother, was from Texas. Her mother was enslaved. Where she came from, there was no way to find out. And so it wasn't until there's a television show we have in the United States called Finding Your Roots.
Finding Your Roots, yes.
And so Dr. Gates invited me on, and you guys, I just had one wish. I said, Dr. Gates, once you do the research, if you find out that I'm white, I don't want to. He said, what do you mean find out white? I said, I saw you do someone. And at the end, they give the percentage. For African Americans, it's this crazy mix. Like, I give the percentage from both sides, your mother and your father. You might be less than 50%. Someone who was on there, and the woman broke out crying. I said, I don't want to cry on TV. I'm not trying to. I said, if I am, just don't invite me. He said, well, I can't make that promise. You have, if you want this expensive research, you got to come on and you got to take whatever we give you. I was like, wow, this is rough. So I get on, I'm in the studio, he's taking me through my history, and he said, Ava, what's your worst fear? On camera, I said, sir, doctor, you know what my worst fear is. So he takes me through the whole history. He gets to Haiti, which was called Saint-Domingue, I guess. Mm-hmm. He gets to Haiti, and he said, you have a proud ancestor from Haiti. And I was like, I'm black, yes. Yes, from Haiti. Why is it a slave master? was my direct ancestor. So he's telling me the story about this white slave master who escapes Haiti after the revolution. He has to escape. He goes to Cuba. He's telling me this crazy story, and all I see is this kind of white man moving across the thing. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And he finally gets around to it. He tells me this long story. He says, Ava, do you want to know your percentage? And I was like, it's online if you want to see this. I say, yeah, I guess so. He says, you're 51.9% black. I made it, just barely. So I had no idea until he gave me the story, and it is sad. It is sad that we don't know those things. We don't have those roots. That was purposeful. It was deliberate. It was systematic. It is. We are in exactly the place that it was desired that we would be, not having that knowledge, and so we're finding more and more African Americans who are now on that quest, looking, trying to put the pieces together, and I think that kind of what they're calling heritage tourism, where we're trying to go and reconnect, is a trend that I hope really continues to grow.
Has it informed or motivated you in your career now of making films, of researching stories that you want to tell, of selecting stories that are important to you to tell?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really informed my business sense of wanting the global connection, to understand that there's way more than the United States, and that we have to be in touch. And I think that is has become very, very important to me and my colleague here, the president of Array, Telaine Jones, who's here. That is a big, big initiative to us, is to connect. And I think learning more about my own personal history has helped me with that.
Okay. And now let's go to awards. We were chatting backstage. No, we were standing outside and they were reading the bio. And I said to you as an aside, when you must have heard this hundreds, if not thousands of times, how does it make you feel? And you said grateful.
Yes. Yes. It doesn't get old. I don't internalize it as, it doesn't feel special to me. It doesn't make me feel good, but I'm grateful for the steps. I feel that it's ridiculous that there's not many firsts on the biography of a woman who started making films in 2012. I mean, you know, the American film industry is 100 years old. When we're talking 15 years that I've been doing it, and all of those firsts are an indictment of the American film industry, that there's that many firsts, that much that black women filmmakers were not valued, were not looked at. I certainly am not the best. I'm not the only. I mean, there are extraordinary women decades before me that just didn't have the look, the opportunity, the recognition. And so I hear it, and it's bittersweet. But I may be the first, but definitely not the last. Yeah. There are a lot of other women out there doing great things.
I want to go then, segue from awards to activism, because we were also chatting about that, and that awards bring recognition. Recognition can sometimes bring from the public an expectation of responsibility, that you will take on causes, which you have. And then on the flip side of that is the risk from where we are as members of the public. Every year when the Oscars are nominated, you get this conversation, this global conversation. How many black films, how many white films, how many about the diversity. How do you look at it? How do you assess it? And then how do you balance it?
I've started to value it less and less. When I first started in the industry, it was very important because it authenticates you. You're an Academy Award nominee, so people will listen more, or people will invite you to a panel, you know, or people will want to see the next movie. So it does have that value. It has a value in a business transactional sense to me now.
Exactly. Yep.
It doesn't have a personal value. It does not make me love my work more or less. I go to the Oscars every year. I sit on the board of the Academy, and so each year I'm there, and every year I'm there, the room feels smaller and smaller. I remember the first time I went, I was like, this is huge. Look at this is incredible. And it's like every year I'm like, oh, it's just a room with people in it. You know what I mean? It's just the same people. It starts to become familiar. It starts to become less mythologized, and you start to really see it for what it is. People who are just trying to get a statue so they can make their next movie. And also an industry that is, trying to applaud work that they feel is worthy, but you have to keep in mind it leaves out a whole swath of films that are just never seen from around the world. You're just not going to see it if you don't have the money for it to be seen. So it's a skewed process. It is a process that I'm very sober about now. My eyes are very open to it. And yet and still I benefit from being a nominee. I benefit from those things. And so two things can be true at once. I can go in with my eyes wide open and understand what it really is, and also I can understand what it does. Yeah.
Is there a movie, is there a story that you want to tell? Sometimes you say, before I go, before I leave this earth, before whatever, I want to do this. Is there a story that you want to tell?
I'm really fortunate that I can say no.
Good.
I'm really fortunate that I feel wide open to the possibilities of stories all around me. I don't have a heart-sick yearning to tell a particular story. There's so much that I want to do. Every time I finish a project, I pray that I'll get a chance to make another one. And so on my last film, Origin, I just had an extraordinary time making that film. It was exactly what I wanted to make. Oh, thank you. Can't believe anybody saw it.
Oh, yes, we did.
And I loved it so much, and my prayer was just like, God, please let me have the opportunity to make another one, make more. So step by step.
Origins would have been promoted as, quote unquote, the story, or one of the stories, one of those seminal stories about the United States of America. I think they're wrong. I think it was our story. And all across the world, people accepted it. This is my story. This is the story of me. I can connect. In lots of instances, I could reconnect. I can understand. I share your pain. Have you experienced that response as you've moved around the world since Origins?
Yes, it's been extraordinary. Origin, because you're dealing with the caste system, and that is a system that morphs and it takes shape in forms across the world in all kinds of different countries. It's not nationalized. It's not specific to India or Germany or the United States, which we chronicle in the films. I've heard from people all around the world where that story of a caste system, no matter what you call them, call it where you're from, it exists. There's no country in the world that hasn't been touched by caste and the hierarchy of human beings, someone at the top, someone at the bottom, and the circumstances that keep people locked in those positions generationally. What a concept, and why aren't we talking about it every day? So we call it racism or classism or sexism or whatever we call it, but all those isms sit on top of this idea of ordering people based on a set of random traits that they can't control. And so I'm very fortunate to have been able to make the film, and we made it independently from Black woman-owned studio, so I'm excited about that. We want to do more of that, and the challenge with that film is it has not been seen widely enough. So our next goal on the next film is to create stronger pathways of distribution globally, and making sure that that everyone in the room has seen Origin, no matter where you're from, or whatever the films are.
Coming back to some advice for fledgling and upcoming filmmakers, again, based on something that we chatted about sitting right here. You have a dream, you want to make a film, you have a story you want to tell, and then when we were talking about it, you were talking as well about having it placed, having it distributed, getting it on the panel for consideration for awards. When you start to make a film, this is the advice I'm asking, should you start looking at that entire trajectory, or should you just start with one small goal?
Yes, it's a great question. I so hope that I have an opportunity to speak with some filmmakers here. It's my favorite thing to do is talk, and because the things that I'm speaking about, great question, because it doesn't connect. You know, perhaps
Yeah.
if you're just thinking about making your film, talking about the Academy Awards seems very, very far off. I would say do not think about awards and acclaim. Do think about how you're going to reach your audience. There are ways now for independent filmmakers, as you're making your film, to be cultivating your audience as you're making the film. It's the new way in terms of thinking independently. Don't wait until it's made to figure out, okay, now I got to find and connect to an audience. There are all kinds of ways now. If you crowdfunded and you asked everyone you knew to give you $5 to make the film, then you have everyone's emails, and so you could send them a picture a day from the set, or you can give them updates, or you can share script pages with them so that they're following the journey with you and they feel like they're a part of it. There are ways to connect your crew members. After you make the film with the crew on set, you go into the editing room, your crew goes away, they go into another film. How do you keep those people connected? How do you use their networks? So I think right now, marketing, distribution, how you're going to reach audiences, it's very exciting for filmmakers to think about that at the point that they're making it. It's a new way of thinking about it. But in terms of the acclaim, that's the trap. And so if you start thinking about that, even if you start thinking about what people want in the movie, that's also a trap. You're not there to do what people want. You are the artist. You decide what they need, what they should see, what you want to give them, right? And that more often than not is the artist's instinct is right. Even if it's a smaller group of people who love it. I'd rather have a smaller group of people who love it than a bigger group of people who saw it and were like, you know? So lean into the passion, make it with all your heart. Such a great question. When do you start to think about the outside? Think about the outside as the acclaim, but think about the inside as your audience. How are you going to start to reach them when you're ready?
AI, new technologies.
AI.
New technologies,
Yeah.
Yep. Let's talk about that. And we are hearing a lot about the dangers, but I also want, again, to go on the flip side and look at the potential. And look at the potential for creating content faster, more people having access to telling their stories, utilizing the content. And again, a third flip side to this coin, the need for the regulation, for the sensitivity in using the AI technologies. Let's talk about that.
Well, I believe your prime minister is more progressive than our president. And
Oh,
so
dear.
I think it's safe to say you all are in better hands with a very brilliant person who's thinking about AI, the dangers and the benefits. We're completely unregulated. The big corporations are being able to do whatever they want. There's nothing happening in terms of protections and safety. So what I would say is get into it,
Okay.
Especially for Black folk. It's here, so it's not like we can fight it. So do we ignore it, or do we try to figure out the ways in which it can benefit our community, our own creativity? The main thing is not to let it pass us by.
Okay.
I get in a lot of rooms with artists of all kinds who want to talk about the woes of AI. It's stealing creativity, it's stealing our jobs. It's like, it's already here, guys. Like, we can keep talking about that, but it's not going to stop. The train is moving, so are you going to get in the train and start to, pull down the pipes and rearrange them in our direction, or are we going to just be on the sideline and complain as it goes by? And so it's tough. Two things can be true at once. I think it can be a scary prospect, but the main thing for artists to know is, if you're a true artist, nobody can take your creativity. People always say to me, how do I protect my idea? How do I protect my story? It's like, you can't, because no one can do it like you. Even if I take your script and word for word have an actor do the same thing, I'm going to pick a different actor, I'm going to put different clothes on them, a different wig, they're going to say it in a different way, I'm going to shoot it differently, I'm going to put different music to it. Each person, you bring your own piece to it. So don't be afraid. AI cannot duplicate you. You know what I mean? The question is, what can AI do for me? How can it make me? I will never be able to make Star Wars. They're never going to give me that money. and I've already asked them to let me make one, and they said no, okay? So how can I make Star Wars? Oh, wait, I can say put Idris Elba in a spaceship and put him here and it pops up. Wow, that's interesting. I don't know if I need all of this. Maybe I can use this, maybe I can use the background, maybe I can use, let's learn the tools and use them to our advantage, and bring the full weight of our history, our ancestry, our creativity, our ethics, our morals, our solidarity to it, and see what happens.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Some very important social and global issues, climate change, diversity, and a number of others. I'm just going to ask you outright. How do you see us making them sexy in films, making stories from them to create films that people will want to pay to go to see?
Yeah, I just think nobody wants to go see an important film with a capital I. This film is important, it's good for you. This is a medicine film. You're gonna sit down. I have to say, and I feel a little bad about it, but my mother used to make us watch Roots as punishment. She would say, stop it, I'm gonna make you watch Roots. We'd be like, okay, we're not gonna do it. In our minds, it was medicinal. And I even hear people come up to me and they say, you know what, my mom used to make me watch Selma every Martin Luther King Day. I'd be like, okay, so these days I'm really interested in how do we take the medicine but wrap it in a candy wrapper? You know what I mean? If it's about climate change, okay, how can you create something that you're able to talk to people about it, but it's in a way that feels less like medicine and more like an adventure, a mystery, a romance, or whatever. Yes, you can have movies that are just about something, but I think more and more to reach the masses, we need to find ways that the stories can be integrated in the forms that the masses might enjoy. And then we bring our creativity to it, and we decide what they need within that milieu. Imagine John Wick if it, underneath, him, underneath, it was saying anything except I kill everybody, you know what I mean? It just wrapped in some way, it could be powerful. And so I think as we move forward, it's about thinking about how do we say the things we need to say, how do we say the things that they want us not to say, and how do we find the ways to put that in a wrapper, in a story that goes down easy. Yeah.
I feel comfortable asking you this question after you have on 2 occasions indicated that you're willing to speak with some of our local filmmakers. Do you see collaborations between the American film industry, filmmakers from the Caribbean, filmmakers from the African diaspora, collaborating on a story that gives a 360 view of our reality? Are you open to that? Do you see it happening?
Am I open to seeing it happening? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good.
I think it should happen.
You think it should happen?
Absolutely. You got an idea?
We all have an idea. Yep.
Okay.
The story of us.
The story of us. That's powerful. Absolutely.
And the reason why I'm asking is when you speak with creatives of all kinds, across all disciplines, let's say from the continent of Africa, and their perspective of the Caribbean and our story of enslavement, more often than not, ends when the enslaved left to cross the Middle Passage. For a lot of us, I'll speak for Barbados, in Barbados, we see that part of our story beginning when they arrive as enslaved persons on our shores. So what is that story of the Middle Passage? And I feel strongly that that's where the connection is going to come, and that's going to give you the full 360 story. So
I agree with that. I think that's a dynamic story. I think the main piece of it is there needs to be Bayesian filmmakers that need to be as adept, as technically proficient, as story-driven, as skilled, as supported as American filmmakers or European filmmakers. The same on the continent. We need to invest more in growing those storytellers and making sure that they have the equipment, the training, however that needs to happen. I don't know how it happens. I'm really interested in supporting any conversations about that. But you know, I feel like I'm in touch with the major Caribbean filmmakers as they come in and out of the United States. It's a handful, and almost all men, you know? And so it's just really a question of how do we say 10 years from now, that we were able to change it around, because it can change. 15 years ago, there was no Shonda Rhimes, Issa Rae, there was no me, Lena Waithe. You know, you had a few women that were doing incredible work, but it would be 6, 7 years in between each film. It took so long for them to get up and running again. Hats off to them for doing what they did. But in order to have ongoing careers where you're seeing new work every you know, multiple television shows and multiple documentary series and all of that, you need to have an infrastructure. And for us, it turned around in 10 to 15 years. So I think it's possible here, if there are enough people interested in it. I think that's the thing. I asked, how many people are from here? How many people are from here? Can you raise your hand? A lot of people from other places? Yeah. Prime Minister, raise your hand. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you. She representing everywhere. But I asked, do people watch movies here? How do you watch movies? Where are the movie theaters? Are you guys getting together? And I think it's also so much about not just the filmmakers, but film lovers, cultivating film lovers. If you make the film that's a story of us, will people come? How do you create a film community that is ravenous for film? They want to see film just like they want to see Calypso. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get that going? And so there are things you can do to develop a film literacy, film language in the community, so that when the films come, they match up. And all of that. So you're
training audiences as well.
Training audiences too. Yeah.
I only have a story, but I don't have the camera. I can't even begin to think where I'm going to get the funding from. I have the camera, but I don't have the story. So you see where I'm going with that. So there are lots of people who have that dream, but can't see what the next steps should be or would be. Should I give up?
No, you just begin. You don't need to know all the steps.
Okay.
You don't need to know all the steps. I need to get to the other side of the room. There were people in this middle aisle. I could go around, go out that door and around the other way. I could just walk through the crowd. I could, you know, try to just climb over this. I can ask, sir, can you give me a piggyback ride? Like, there are 9 ways to get across the room. I don't need to know sitting from this seat how to get there. I just got to step off the stage and begin, right? So you have, you know, everyone has a camera. I never like to hear the camera bit. Everyone has a camera. There's a whole films made on iPhones. I'm not kidding you. Full films in movie theaters in the United States making tens of millions of dollars shot on iPhones, or parts of it shot on iPhones. You have it. There are lenses that go on the iPhones that cost $5, $10, not much money. So you have the camera. If you don't know the story, well, what story do you have? The film that was my film that won the first awards was the 4th film I made. I made other films leading up to it just to get my legs. So just get off the stage, you know what I mean? Just start the walk to the door. And you may not know all the steps, but you'll take no step if you stay seated. So you got to stand up and get going. Yeah.
The power of film, and by extension, the power of the arts, and by extension, the power of culture to transform the world. Outside of the politics, outside of the negotiations, outside of the G7 and G9 and the G24 meetings, the power of culture to do what no other tenet of civilization can, which is to transform, to inspire, to motivate, and in this world, also to support, both financially and mentally as well. Let's talk about that.
Okay. What part?
Which part? The entire part, where, for example, I'm going to put it in the context of Carifesta. For Carifesta 15, the reason why we're having sessions like this, big conversations, is because we acknowledge that there are topics that require conversation. Outside of scholarship, outside of research, again I say outside of politics and governance, just people of all walks of life gathering and listening to those who have extraordinary life experiences such as yours and sharing those experiences. And by doing so, finding a better way for a better tomorrow. Nothing does it like the arts and culture. Do you agree?
Yes. Yes, I mean, shout out to the scientists. You all are important too. But I think even when I sit down with scientists, I was at a big conference that Melinda Gates did in Seattle about 4 weeks ago, and there were all of these scientists and people from the climate industry who she brought together because they all are talking about the fact that they need to tell their story. Mm-hmm. They need to let people know about the discovery. They need to tell people about the problem that they're having with, you know, with the oceans in whatever district. They need storytelling to connect from what they are doing to an audience, for people to care. And so that's story in between. You know, it's not a press release. It's not hidden in a book that people are not going to read. It's new ways to tell story. And so I think narrative change, using narrative to change, using narrative to connect. These ideas are becoming more and more prevalent, more and more valued. And so if you can figure out how to tell a story, and it's not just the story you want to tell, the story of your grandmother's hands, the story of your ancestry, but there are storytellers that are needed to share what is happening right now and amplify ideas, information in ways that will grab attention from an attention deficit syndrome we're all in. You know, that has value. So I think narrative change is a terrific space for people to be thinking about. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be, I don't know, Gina Prince Bythewood. I was going to say Steven Spielberg. He's a nice man, but Gina Prince Bythewood or Casey Lemons or other, Uzan Palsi or whomever. You don't have to be a trained filmmaker to be a storyteller. And so the question is, if that's something you're interested in, a very powerful place to hone your skills.
Yes.
Yeah.
After 2 days in Barbados, do you feel different? Are you settled?
Yeah, I feel
do
sexy.
You feel at home?
I feel.
I didn't ask that. I did not ask that.
What is that?
I did not ask that.
I feel sexy.
Do you feel settled at home?
I feel very comfortable. I first came in. I came into the. I'm from California, so I came into the airport. And I stepped out of the airplane. It was windy, balmy, and I said, "Wow, this is sexy." And then, and I said to the woman who was taking me to the car, I said, "God, this is gorgeous weather." She's like, "It's hot." I said, "This is hot?" And she said, "Yes, it's hot right now." And I said, "Wow, this is fantastic." Then we got to the hotel, and I said, "You know, I'm done with the hotel food." I asked the driver, "Can you just take me to some place where I can get some food?" So he took me to this jerk chicken place called Reggie's. And I was sitting there and I'm licking my lips and looking out onto the ocean. I thought, I can do this. Like, I like this. And everywhere I go, people were kind. They nod their heads. Sometimes in the United States, you walk by, nobody even says hello. Everyone has a smile or a nod or acknowledging your presence. So nice. But the one thing that I love here so much, I said this to someone, and they said, "It is?" And I said, "You can't see that?" I said, "It's so clean here." I mean, this is one of the cleanest countries I have ever been to. You don't think it's clean? Yeah. It is so clean. I see no rubbish. I see no trash. I've been in all parts. I was with the driver, and he was taking me through, and he drove me through, and he said, I said, "Oh, who are those? Let's go out. Can we go in there?" And he said, "No, this is a tough part. This is Bridgetown. You don't want to get out." And I said, this is clean over here. It's clean. Our tough areas in Compton.
I'm from Compton.
I'm from Compton, California. Our tough areas are, I mean, you know, if you've been to the United States, it's trash everywhere. And I mean, I literally said, what's up? The sanitation department, these are superheroes. This is the cleanest place I've ever seen. It's beautiful. Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. It's beautiful.
My final question before we go to a brief question and answer session, give you a chance to take a sip of water. What do you watch? What kind of films do you watch?
What kind of films do I watch? I love older films. I love to learn from films. And so I find myself watching, you know, I have a dream of watching every film, feature film that a black director has made anywhere in the world. That's a lot of films. So I love, watching old CBC films, watching, Uzan Palsi, watching The Masters, Haile Gerima. These films are hard to find, but once you find them, you unlock a treasure trove of beauty. And it's definitely worth doing. So I like to watch the old stuff. We call them oldies but goodies. Someone told me you all call them oldies, goldies. Oldie goldies. Yes. So I like the vintage stuff. Yeah.
We've been chatting for an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I want to thank you on behalf of the audience, Prime Minister and the government of Barbados, for agreeing, first of all, to come, because I do know that your schedule was hectic, but also for agreeing to this fireside chat to share and in lots of ways to unburden and to just give us, I'm sure, inspiration going forward for whatever we do, whether it's film or not, as long as our story is authentic, which is what I took from this, and to find beauty in everything. So thank you.
You're a wonderful interviewer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And with your permission, we'll now have a brief Q&A.
Anyone who needs to leave, feel free. And thank you for coming. Anyone who wants to ask me a question, I'm happy to answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a hand raised in the back, and there's a microphone in the center.
One brave soul. There she is. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. It's always hard to be first.
Yes, it is.
Great job.
Good afternoon, Ms. Duvernay.
Good afternoon.
I want to pick your brain on the process for soundtrack selection and music composition for your projects. I'm thinking particularly Letter to the Free for 13th, and also the soundtracks that are used in the film as sort of like a narrator to move the story forward. And of course, it's Glory for Selma, and it's impossible to forget the last shot in When They See Us, when Moon River comes in, when the camera pans up to the sky. Absolutely brilliant.
She's watched your film.
So do you think it's a case where the universe aligns you with the right people, as was the case with Letter to the Free, or is it more of a strategic process where you shop around for singers and then you sit alongside them during the writing and the composing?
I want to hug you. I want to hug you. That's one of the most detailed, that was the most, thank you so much. Thank you. How fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's one of the most detailed, beautiful questions I might have ever been asked, because she watched the films, multiple films, and she had detail about the names of songs that I even don't remember. So thank you so much. Yes, 13th, Letter to the Free was a song at the end of that film that Common did. He just won the Oscar for another film we'd done together in a song, Glory, in Selma. And so I said, he actually came, now I remember, he came to me and said, hey, let's do it again. Let me make another one. And I said, we did it already. Yeah. You did it. I'm going to find somebody else. But thank you, brother. Thank you so much. No, I can do it. I said, why don't you make something? And I'll listen to it, and if it fits, maybe we'll do it. So he made it on his own, Letter to the Free. I showed him the film. He made it on his own. I said, dang it, we're gonna have to do it again. Okay, we'll put it on. And so that fit really beautifully at the end, and we added the pictures of, African-American families at the end. So it felt like it was a real synergy, but that's something that came to me and fit. On When They See Us, Moon River, I'd actually written into the script. So earlier in episode 2, one of the incarcerated men in the prison is singing Moon River, and the rest of the inmates are telling him to shut up. And there's just a little thing there. And I remember thinking, I'm going to get Barbra Streisand's Moon River, because I always love that song. It makes me sad at the end. It's a mournful song. But someone told me, maybe 6 months before, that Frank Ocean had recorded a version of it. I said, Frank Ocean recorded a version of Moon River? Impossible. I listened to it and I just cried. And it fits so perfectly on it. And then after is a song by Nipsey Hussle that comes on after on the credits. And so it is really like painting. You know, you find the songs, sometimes they'll come to you in different ways, but I'm so rarely asked about the music selection in the film. And so after, I might want to hug you one more time. But thank you for recognizing it. Are you in music?
No, my background is in prose, but I recently started filmmaking, like you, at the age of 32. I'm 35 now.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you.
Lady J, 91.9 KCSB Radio out of the USA. Honorable Prime Minister, thank you for allowing Barbados to host the Carifesta. I'm so happy to be here from Compton, California.
Hey!
So Ava, we have a few things in common. Of course, I'm from the USA, I'm from California, born and raised on Rosecrans and Alameda in Compton, California, just like yourself. And secondly, we both actually had the pleasure of visiting a weekly storytelling called The Good Life that happened every Thursday in Los Angeles when we were teenagers.
Yes.
You don't know me, I don't know you, but we were both at the same place some years ago.
Wow.
So I want to say thank you, because that was a platform where storytelling was still kind of on the forefront.
Yes.
And I think that you continued that storytelling in your projects in TV and in film, so thank you again.
Thank you.
My question to you is, what are your current projects that we can all look forward to, whether it's documentary, whether it's film, or whether it's TV?
What a delight to meet someone all the way here from exactly where I'm from. So how incredible that is.
I'm actually here with my husband doing some embassy stuff, and they're like, "You're here for Carifesta?" I'm like, "What's that?" I'm like, I'm here for the embassy. And then all of this started taking place, and I'm looking through the events, and it said, Ava DuVernay. I'm like, come on, baby, we're going to, we're going to see Ava.
Fantastic. Well, I love it when that happens. Things like that happen. The Good Life, which is the open mic that we both went to as teenagers, I just learned something interesting. So I'm not from the Caribbean, and I really don't know a lot about the music here. Unfortunately, a lot of it sounds just like Caribbean music writ large to me, but there's all these different pieces. So yesterday I was taken to see this great play about the Mighty Sparrow, who I'd never heard about. And I learned about Calypso, and that they used to have these like rap battles called tributes.
Extempo.
Picong. Yes, that. And that they would use the lyrics, and they would kind of, you know, one-up each other. It's like a battle, like the Dozens. And that's what we'd see a lot of at The Good Life. But with hip hop, black people, we just morph, we change, we take the same rhythms and the same creativity, and they're just called by different names. So it was incredible. It was mind-blowing to see that in that play. You got to check it out. It's called 10 to 1 if you haven't seen it. Hey, is that 10 to 1 people over there? Hey, good job. But my next project, I made a project called 13th about 9 years ago, I think, about the 13th Amendment to the American Constitution. And so for the last, is this live streaming?
Yes.
It's live streaming. I'm making something else. I was going to tell you guys a secret, but I'm making I'm making a documentary right now. It'll be out soon.
Well, we look forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, we've got 4 more questions.
Okay, hi.
And then we wrap.
Hello. I'm one of those Caribbean female filmmakers.
Wonderful. What's your name?
Earlier. My name is Jazz. I'm from the Cayman Islands. I was actually a writer for a Black Lady sketch show, which I know.
Okay, yeah. I know those.
And I'm currently working on my debut feature film. It's an eco-political thriller set in the Cayman Islands about a hurricane that hit the Caribbean, Hurricane Ivan from 2004. Cheryl Lee Ralph is attached. We've got an awesome team that we're building. My issue is we've got about half the funding. It's about a $3 million budget. The other half with gap financing has been difficult because I keep getting told black actors don't hold as much value financially. And then also when thinking about distribution, as you said, like this is a film that I'm making to be seen. I wrote it, yes, through the lens of Caribbean people, but as universal themes, and people can relate to it across the world in different places. So my question to you is this dance of working with financiers and also trying to make the film that's authentic to me and my home and my community.
$3 million is a really nice budget. In this, I think in past years that would have been a perfect figure, but we need to make them for less now. So I would say try to cut it in half and just make it with what you've got. And let me just tell you, because the American film industry is collapsing, it's completely breaking down. The big companies are consolidating, they're going away, there'll be less of them, so it's all about independent. And you'll be able to make more so you can make your second, third, and fourth film if you owe less. So if you make a $3 million film and you're only able to sell it for $3.5, you don't have enough for the next one. If you make it for $1.5 and you sell it for that $3, well, now you're flipping that over and you're onto the second film. And so think along the lines, if you have half, I'd say, when are we shooting? When do I visit you on set? If you've got $1 million, $1.5 million, go. Figure it out. Bring down, I know it's a hurricane, we have AI, you know what I mean? Like, I heard everything you said. I know 3 sounds good, that's the right figure, but sometimes you gotta get off the stage, even when you don't know how to get to the other half of the room. You know what I mean? You've got that in hand, take it before it goes away, because that money might go away too. So that would be my advice without knowing a lot about what you said, but I'm excited for you. It sounds really cool. Cheryl Lee Ralph in a hurricane thriller. I'll give you my ticket money right now. So okay. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, Ava. I'm Benjamin Henry, Chief Executive Officer of the local Barbados Film and Television Association here. Fantastic talk, very insightful, excellent in every way. About 2 years ago, I was privileged enough to attend a private screening of your film, Origin, here in Barbados. And it was a fantastic film that really showed the power of film to show commonalities across cultures. You touched on a bit here, of course. There's many shared commonalities between the Caribbean and African American populations. And I know you said you're a cinephile, you've seen many films, and I'm just very interested to know personally, what are some of your favorite films, either based in the Caribbean or made by Caribbean filmmakers? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
You are.
But wow. I'm sure there are some that really struck you, and I'm just very interested to hear that. Thank you.
That's tough. I haven't seen enough to be knowledgeable about them. And I also suffer from the craziness in the United States of conflating, in my head, Caribbean films, and Latin American films all in my head, because they're marketed as the same thing. So I'm very ignorant and I'm very uneducated to it. I do love a film that I actually distributed called Better Must Come. Does anyone know that film? Yep. It's one of the more recent films, maybe in the last 7 or 8 years, by a filmmaker named Storm Salter, who I think is really promising from here and feels like he might be able to push through and make some larger films that are seen more widely. In terms of, I'm afraid that I'm gonna say something wrong, because I don't want to say films that are Latin American films by Black people, because they're not Caribbean films. I don't know. Gosh, this is a horrible, horrible question. This is a horrible question. What are your favorite films?
Well, favorite films
What
ever?
should I see? What should I see?
Well, I mean,
Give me 2.
One of the classic Caribbean films, one of the greatest ever, is probably the Jamie Cliff film, The Harder They Come. I mean, that's a classic.
Well, I've seen that. That's a wonderful film. I could have said that. Yeah. What else? What else?
Boy, I wish let me see. You put me on the spot. I would probably go for Latin American films myself, you know, I can't really, look, if there's one thing we could take away from this question, is that maybe we need to make some more, make some more to get on your radar.
Amen.
That's how we're going to flip it and answer
Amen to that.
diplomatically.
Thank you.
Mark, forgive me, and again, we're very uneducated in the United States. You know, we only, the maps that they teach us in school is just the map of the United States. So, but Martinique is considered
Yes.
Sugarcane Alley.
Okay.
I would say that. Have anyone seen Uzan Palsi, Sugarcane Alley? That's my answer.
Great answer.
Sugarcane Alley.
Check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for putting me on the spot, sir. Appreciate you. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mandy. I'm a makeup artist. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
My question might sound frivolous in grand scheme of things, but I promise there's a point. You talked a lot earlier, and I think throughout your whole chat, about bringing what we can to the table, right? Just showing up and doing what we can. And I have it written down so that I don't stumble.
Take your
for
time.
reasons. I firmly believe in the art of storytelling, like you've been talking about. And with makeup in general, whether it's just makeup for an event or for a wedding, I think I'm telling a story. But I've also been on many film sets, video sets, that kind of thing. And for me, often makeup is something that's overlooked because it's invisible. If it's done well, like it has been in many films, I'll call some of yours, like in Selma, you don't see it, but it adds authenticity to what you're seeing on screen, and it brings you into the moment. You're able to immerse yourself, right? And then, of course, in A Wrinkle in Time, which I was thrilled to watch because it was my favorite book growing up, it transports you to another world. So my question is, when makeup is used intentionally and sensitively, and not just for aesthetics, it can be a big part of storytelling. And in a world where traditional beauty standards have for far too long excluded women and people of color, and it's a battle that we are still fighting today in commercial spaces, on screen and everything, how do you see makeup contributing to the language of storytelling and reframing how we view beauty and power and what they look like on screen? And what advice would you give to a makeup artist and makeup artists who want their work to deepen the narrative rather than distract from it?
Got it. Thank you for the question. Makeup artists are some of my closest collaborators on set. We think of crew members and we think of guys with belts carrying cameras and rigs. Two of the people that I depend on so much in a film crew is the makeup and hair team. Because if an actor comes out onto the set and doesn't feel like the character, then we don't have a movie. It doesn't matter how many lights and how many cameras and how beautiful the location is and how much the script is fantastic if the actor is not feeling like the character. So makeup and hair transforms an actor into a Dr. King or a witch from A Wrinkle in Time or whatever. They have to feel that. And the makeup artist is the ultimate hype person. They hype them up. You can do it. Get out there. You can do it. They're the last person that the actor sees before they see me. And so it's so important. Every person on a film set plays a role. And I just look forward to the day that this country has a thriving film industry because there's so many different jobs that are exciting. And the makeup artist, it's not a trivial question. It's a big question. They create wounds, they create monsters. They make you look tired. Most actresses in the United States are just their faces, they're not tired. You know what I mean? So how do I make you put the bags under the eyes and make them look tired and less beautiful or more beautiful? It's such a big role. And so I hope that directors make you feel empowered and make sure that you know how important the role is. And I invite anyone that's good at makeup or hair, you know what, no matter anything you're good at, there's a role in film for you. If you know how to fix cars, we need car mechanics on films. How do you think the cars move around and work? You can do some hair. You can do a hair on a film set. Makeup. If you're a good builder, we have construction. If you're a nurse, we need medics on the set. It's like a little town. I'm the prime minister of the town. That's my job. But there are so many different pieces of the puzzle. And once film starts to be made, if you hear about a film, a video, a commercial, get in there or make your own. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. The line is getting longer and longer. It's good. Okay, we're going to speed through them.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Sean Rose. Hi, Ava.
Hi.
We had the pleasure of meeting the other night at Alvin Ailey.
Oh, you gave me such a nice hug.
You were amazing.
I remember.
Thank you for being so kind.
Thank you.
I work in film. I've been working in film for about 8 years now over in the States. I work at the biggest film production company in Atlanta, Georgia, also known as Tyler Perry Studios. And I've been working behind the scenes for a number of years, and it's been amazing. I've gotten to see the woes and the ups and downs in the film industry, from us being laid off for months to a year, and getting back into working. And in that time, I've been able to discover so much about myself as a creative. Much like you, I work behind the scenes, supporting all of our actors and crew members. And now I've finally gotten the opportunity to stand in front of the camera and act. And by doing all of these roles behind and in front of the camera, it has inspired me to write. And I would love to ask you, what are some tips and insight for future screenwriters and writers in general that helped you lead and catapult yourself from behind the camera and behind the lights to in front of the screen and behind the director's chair, or in front of the director's chair?
Well, congratulations on your trajectory. I'm never in front of the screen, so that's the last thing you want is me acting. How dare I try to direct an actor? I'm the worst actor. I'm just like, I'm a horrible actor. So you in front of the screen is something I could never do. But how do you get started? If you want to write, if you're a writer, then you should write every day, at least 3 or 4 pages a day. And so there's a Julia Cameron book, a very famous Julia Cameron book called The Artist's Way, that encourages writers to do morning pages. So when you get up, you do your morning pages, 3 or 4 a day. Whether you know the idea, whether you know what you're doing, get in the habit of writing every day. That's something that anyone can do. Now, I should take my own advice because I'm supposed to be writing a script right now, and I'm here in Barbados, like sipping coconut water. It's not the best thing. But when I get home, I'm going to resume my morning pages and writing every day. It's like a muscle. It's like working out. You do the exercise that you can do. And so anyone can write. And it's not a script. It's just journal, whatever comes to your mind. But get in the muscle. Get the muscles going of writing every day. If you don't do that already, it's a beautiful practice. Good.
I brought it with me,
Good.
and I've been writing here. It's been amazing.
Good.
My second question, I'm a little nervous to ask, but
I think it's tough because we got a lot of people behind you.
Oh,
So I don't know if we can do,
very
okay.
quick. But I would just like to know if you have any opportunities in the States. I would like to present myself to possibly work with you or for you, if possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have any opportunities, I would like to connect further and possibly work with you, if possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so
keep
much.
moving
Thank you.
quickly.
Thank you.
And if I could, just in the interest of time and because of Miss Duvernay's schedule, if we could have crisp, short questions, then so we can let everyone ask
She's
a
ready.
question.
Hit
We
it.
don't want to disappoint everyone.
Hello,
so
everyone. My name is
thank you.
Whitney.
Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney Payne. I'm from Oakland, California, by the way of Louisiana. I lived in Barbados for 3 years. Love Barbados is a second home for me, and I'm also retracing my steps here as through the middle passage of my family, probably, traveling through here. I just wanted to know from you, as a producer, when did you feel like you arrived? And what was your proudest moment? It's just an interesting question that, for me, being in the industry for 18 years, I just want to know, when did you feel like you arrived and your voice mattered?
When my voice mattered, I feel much more arrived when someone comes up to me and tells me what the films meant to them than when I'm in a gown at an award show. I just feel full. I feel happy. And so when people started to tell me what the films meant to them, we have a TV show in the United States called Queen Sugar. When people would come up to me and talk to me about the characters by name. I was walking through the Atlanta airport on the way here, and a woman said to me, not on the way here, on the way to the trip I did before, and she said, "How's Ralph Angel?" I said, he's good. He's good. He's good. Asking me about a character in a show that's been off for 3 years because she said, I miss him. And I said, I know, me too. That's arrived, So I think it's reframing what we think of as success, something that's come out of your head and your heart and your mind and your morning pages has reached someone to the point that they want to talk to you about it and they miss it. That is, you made it. You made it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My
good
name
afternoon.
is Lisa Pegram, and I am a writer, an educator, and an editor. And I am from Washington, D.C., but with Bayesian roots, and have recently moved back to Barbados to write a book about my family legacy.
Wonderful.
I also want to say that I've lived outside of the States for 13 years, and a major touchstone for me has been your films, and especially Queen Sugar, when I have felt homesick and I wanted to connect back to my other home, especially because Nola was writing that book about her family. So I want to thank you. Also, you have no idea the
I've
kind
arrived.
of nurturing.
Thank you.
There you go. I just want
Thank
to tell you
you.
the arrival is arriving.
Thank you, sister.
So I have a quick question, and I just turned 50, so I have to take off my glasses to ask it. What about a book might move you to make a film or a television about it in terms of content and perhaps form? And then how might a writer who aims to have their work adapted best attract a producer who wants to acquire the rights?
Great questions. It's hard to say what hits the spirit when you read something or hear something and feel like, oh, that's a movie. It's not cookie cutter that way. You know, like I said, you got to have the passion. So when one of the exonerated five, some people know them as the Central Park Five, slipped into my DMs on Twitter and said, hey, would you ever want to do a story about us? It's like, wow, a story that's a great story. Just like that, it took hold of my spirit. And if you would have asked me 3 days before if I would have ever done a story about five boys and, a crime story, I would have said no. But so it's hard to say. I think in terms of presenting the work as an author to be adapted, don't be precious, because once you give it to be adapted, it becomes that person's thing. And so the biggest obstacle is authors being you must do every page the way I wrote it, right? If that was the case when Natalie Bazell, I took the rights to Queen Sugar, there was no Hollywood character in Queen Sugar. He was not that guy. He was a minor character who did something else. Half the characters in that show weren't in the book. I built on top of the book, and it became a show that was on for 7 seasons. So make it a rich world, and then invite artists to interpret it. And I think the more that filmmakers see you're open to interpretation, it becomes a hot property.
Okay. Thank you.
Hope that helps. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Eric Rose. I'm a Senior Information Officer at the Bahamas Information Services.
Okay.
And I'm here at Carifesta, not only covering it, but as a poet and a visual artist. So and also to tie into Atlanta, a graduate of Clark Atlanta University, where I served as editor-in-chief for the newspaper Clark Atlanta University Pamphlet.
Wow.
My question is one that I asked earlier at another event, stating we in the Bahamas have something called the E. Clement Bethel National Arts Festival, where we actually have young children in high school, primary school, preschool, go through the visual arts, acting, even filmmaking, as one of our persons are here. And I was wondering how important it is to have activities and programs like that are feeding into the future of our film industry and other industries for you.
Can I just tell you how magnificent you look? Look at him. He's got a camera on the left, one on the right. I mean, you look like a superhero to me. As a filmmaker, with those cameras on you, it's gorgeous. Fantastic. I think you look like Superman to me right now. It's so important to have these early programs. It should not feel slight. It should not feel optional. The health of any vibrant film industry, it starts like anything else in the apprentice level. But even before the apprentice level, awareness, the possibility, the dreaming level. And so those early, I don't know exactly what the program is you're talking about, but it sounds like it's young people bringing them into the idea of image making, storytelling, information gathering, research, whatever it is. Those are all just as important as taking a kid to the aquarium so they could see, how marine life moves for the first time, opening up the arts to them at that level. And that's so much of what's happening here. I know eyes are being opened. Yes. I've seen dance, I've seen plays, I've seen music. Imagine people 10 years from now say, my first exposure to that thing was at this convening. So wildly important, and yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Superman.
And
Yes.
our final two.
Pull it down, make it work for you. Yes.
Sorry. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Ava. I'm Trinity Rose, and I'm a young director, and my film is showing at Carifesta on Wednesday. It's called Perturb, and I really wish you could come because you're a big aspiration. Even hearing your story while I was sitting down, I'm like, I relate to you so much. And my question is, what is your advice on writing stories with darker themes that they may be realistic and some people may feel awkward to watch them or it may be uncomfortable, but I find myself writing a lot of realistic stuff and I do love realism a lot. So what's your advice on that?
Wow. I really wish I could see your film too. I'll be gone when it debuts, but if you can send me a link, I'll watch it.
Aww,
okay, so where's Tulane?
She's right here.
There she is. So if you can give your email to that woman, she's the president of Array. She's actually the one you want watching it, but we'll watch it, and I can't wait to see it. Thank you for sharing it with us. Also, I want you to show me how to do my hair like that, because it's fantastic. But the last piece is darker themes, whatever the themes are, remember, think about what you want to say, what you want to do. If it's what you like, if you believe that it is the story for you to tell, then tell it. And I guarantee you there'll be at least 2, at the minimum, other people. But there will be other people who want to hear your story the way you want to tell it. So don't constrain yourself by what other people want. If you're into dark themes, then make your dark movie.
Thank you so
I can't wait to
much.
see it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What an incredible crowd. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your enthusiasm. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ava. But before we go, thank you very much. I want to give the final word to our Honorable Prime Minister.
Oh, wow.
Thank you very much, Eva. Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you very much, audience. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And Carifesta 15, the theme was not by accident, Global Excellence, Caribbean Roots, because we have to be able to tell our story. I became Minister of Culture in 1994, and for that period of time, I had a common refrain while being education and culture and youth, and that is we have to tell our story. And I say so because whether it is trying to promote the Bridgetown Initiative for the reform of the international financial institutions, it is because we have a story to tell to make change. Or whether it is that we're moving for reparations, it is because we have a story to tell to make a change. Or whether it is saying to the UN that small island developing states deserve special and differential treatment because we are different, we have a story to tell. And certainly on the issues of climate, we know we have stories to tell. So the question has always been, however, how do we create the opportunities? How do we allow our people to understand the standards of excellence so that they don't settle for less? And in so doing, how do we tell our stories not just from the perspective of sufferation, but also of joy and triumph and love? I believe strongly that the Caribbean has that humanizing element. We are a microcosm of the rest of the world. And in coming together on land spaces that are really very small, relatively speaking, we have been able to forge something that's not perfect, but that has not seen the level of bloodshed and strife that other regions have seen at the same time. Now, as I said, that's not a reason for complacency at all, but our sufferation has given us the capacity to build resilience and to allow our creativity to flourish. And whether it is Marlon with your works, and I certainly want to salute you with the last stuff you've done on HBO, Get Millie Back, and whether it is Mikey Bennett or whether it is the ones like Trinity who are coming out of Barbados, whether it is songwriters like the Water Street Boys. The point is that all of us have the ability to tell that story in whatever medium. The difficulty comes in reaching scale, and that's the point we made on Saturday morning with the big conversation. Our ability to transform our people, to have the confidence to not become pawns in somebody else's stories. We talk about gun violence in the region and the level of homicides in the region, and the reality is, I keep making the point, guns don't walk, guns don't talk. People do. People kill, people hurt people. These are the things that we have to begin to understand. And if we understand that, then we begin to understand that education and non-formal education, which is culture, are the most important things that we can do to transform this nation, this region, and indeed this planet. But we cannot simply say that because we're small or that we don't have access to ABC. The beauty of technology, it has given us a lot of dangerous things. There's no way we can avoid that. But there's also a beauty in the democratization of access to technology. Mm-hmm. And that's why your answer to the young lady from Cayman Islands about the budget is so important, because there's some good old time lessons from our ancestors. If you don't have horse, you ride cow. You understand? And we have learned to do that. But you talked about other stories. Mikey, Marlon, Dancehall Queen, made with a budget of what, $1 million US, and grossed over 25 million US in the early stages. Our music, our story, our color, our vibrancy, our struggles deserve to be told. And regrettably, they've not been told enough. And that's one of the reasons we invited you here, because people must touch and feel excellence, and you represent excellence for the Black world in filmmaking. And there isn't a price to that, because when you inspire others, I know what it is to watch Michael Manley, Errol Barrow, Tom Adams, etc., in the business that I am in, and I know the difference that it made to my path. So that when we host Carifesta 15, it is because this country has been blessed to have produced two persons who have attained global excellence. We've produced more, I would like to believe, but two for sure. So Garfield Sobers, the greatest cricketer of all time, he's born in humble circumstances on one side of Bridgetown, and Robin Rihanna Fenty, born on the other side of Bridgetown, also out of humble circumstances. None of us in here knows when the next Sagari or the next Rihanna or the next Ava is coming from. And that is why we do what we do. And I thank you also for the kind of mentorship and advice that you've given here this evening, the patience with which you have done it, and the humility with which you have done it. And I simply say that if there's one piece of advice that I certainly give, and you gave this evening, if you see an obstacle, don't let it stop you. Mm-hmm. You go over, you go around, you go under, you go through if necessary. But there are too many people in our country, in our region, who are intimidated in their heads. They lease out space in their heads to the obstacles and refuse to take the steps. And that is what we want to stop. So, as a young girl about to turn 60, I say to you all, it is your world. And I want forever to be young, but I'm conscious that like you have to keep exercising to keep mobile. So honestly though, this is your world, and the majority of people as I scan the room are young people, and you have the stories to tell. And previous generations had other battles. They didn't have access to the technology that you have. Tell the story, and let us at our level fight the battles of distribution and scale and promotion, and we promise to do that. Barbados, in my view, can be a location that is a serious player in the film industry. That is why, as well, we took the decision as Cabinet last week to purchase all of the digital archives of Banyan Productions. because in those over 2,500 films across the Caribbean, they tell our story. That is why I committed and I joked with Ralph Gonzalez that we're going to do a 6-part series, 2 hours each, on Sparrow and his music. And why? I don't know when we're going to find the time, but we're going to do it. And it may just be radio. But the point is that if you look at the stories, we go to 10 to 1. Alabama, when they started to sing his song on Alabama, you could as well be talking about Texas last week. When they start to sing the songs about education, CARICOM Educational Transformation Commission. But Sparrow was singing about it 30, 40 years ago when he made fun of all of the nursery characters in the Royal Reader that we used to have to read in primary school. And he basically was telling us, how do you decolonize your mind at this stage? Or when he just simply understood human beings and wanted laughter and titillating. The lizard ran up she leg and it disappeared. Everybody's still searching. Where the lizard? You understand? So, and if I could have sung, and you know I cannot sing, I would not be Prime Minister because I would be in the arts business. But the point I'm making is, look, this is your world. And Carifesta 15 is just to give you an opportunity and to learn and to take these opportunities. And all we can do now is let you fly and hope that among some of you, that you will soar right into the stars. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, President Griffith. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you very much for coming, and we now invite you to join us for a brief reception outside. Thank you. Happy Carifesta.
Thank you. How wonderful.
Take this off.